surviving your first 1,000 cold calls as an SDR. Mindset. Without the right mindset, you will not survive as an SDR, especially if you're just starting out and it's the first time you've ever made a cold call. You will not survive. 90% of the cold call battle is simply picking this thing up and making the dials. Don't worry about what the other SDRs are doing on the team and their performance. Don't really worry about how many meetings you're getting, what your success rate is, what your connect rate is. Don't worry about any of that. Your focus, mindset, the goal that you have when you're just starting out making cold calls is frequency of dials. With frequency comes comfortability. As you get comfortable picking this up and you consistently pick it up on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, at that point, you can then start working on your skill development and techniques. Nerves. You are going to be very nervous when you make your first 1,000 cold calls. I promise you this, the fear does subside. The fear goes away. The nerves do not. Guys, I have been making cold calls for 7, 8 years now. I get nervous, very nervous before each cold call session. However, I view nerves in a positive light because number one, they show that I care about what I'm about to do. And number two, nerves help me lock in and stay focused on that cold call session. So when you do get nervous, it is not abnormal. It's normal to get nervous when you're making the cold calls, especially at the start. Again, the nerves will not go away. The fear will. Use nerves to your advantage. It shows that you care about what you're about to do, and it helps you lock in. Rejection. You will get hung up on often, more often than not, especially when you're just starting out. Rejection and hang-ups are inevitable. Even when you're 10 years into sales, like me, I get hung up on all the time. It's just part of making cold calls. Do not dwell on the hang-up. Don't dwell on the rejection. Count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're making your next call.
The longer you wait in between calls, the harder it's going to be to pick the phone up and make that next call. It's going to feel like this 50-pound weight here that I'm trying to curl. It's impossible. It's going to be very, very difficult. 1, 2, 3, you're on to the next call. And oh yeah, guys, you're going to get cursed at. You're going to get hung up on. You are going to get rejected. Never take it personally. They're not saying no to you. They're saying no to the product or service you sell. And a no typically means not right now, not never. So put those folks into some sort of follow-up cadence. Call them back 3 months from now, 6 months from now. The time it could be different and the conversation could make sense.
Expect every call to be answered. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, when I'm making cold calls, 90% of my calls, maybe 95% of my calls at this point in 2024 are going to voicemail. You're right on that. But if you are expecting somebody to pick up the phone, you're expecting just to go right to voicemail, and that person does pick up the phone, you're going to sound surprised, caught off guard. That call is not going to start all that well because your tone has been impacted. All right, guys, this is my first cold call session of the day. When you're starting out, and if you're 10 years into this cold call game, you need to set yourself up for success. Stop winging it. This is what I mean. This is my current setup. I have my cold call script out in front of me with questions I like to ask. I have my scripts on how I like to invite myself out of conversations to book a meeting. And then most importantly, I have my objection handlers. When you're starting out, and this happens to me now, guys, happens to me all the time. I make a cold call, I connect with a prospect, I'm having a conversation, it's going well, the prospect hits me with an objection, my mind goes blank, I forget how to respond, and now that prospect hung up on me, and it's a wasted opportunity. So today, if I get hit with, hey Matt, listen, call me back in 2 months, and my mind goes blank, all I have to do is look down at my objection handler sheet right in front of me and know exactly what I should say, how I should respond to handle it, to move the conversation forward, and if it makes sense, give myself the opportunity to book a meeting with that prospect. Make your calls early in the morning. Eat the frog, do the hardest thing first. This is so important, guys. The longer you wait into the day, the harder it is to pick this up and do your cold call session. In this 1 hour block, the only thing I'm doing is making cold calls. I'm not checking ESPN. I'm not responding to Slack messages. I'm not responding to customer emails. The only thing I'm doing is picking this thing up to make cold calls, and I'm logging the activity in ISC. This is so important. Cold calling is a rhythm game. It's like shooting hoops. So if I have a really good call and I book a meeting, I need to use that to my advantage and build momentum into the next call. The last thing I need to do as a salesperson, as a cold caller, I book a meeting, have a great call, get up out of this chair, walk out the door, and go talk to a coworker and brag about booking a meeting. Use that call to your advantage, that momentum into the next call. Time blocking, guys, is so important, and it's the only way to successfully make cold calls, whether you're just starting out in your first 1,000 or you're like me, you're 9 years into cold calling and you're north of 100,000 cold calls in your career. You will be sending lots of cold emails after your first 1,000 cold calls as an SDR. A tool that I really like and I've been using for the past couple weeks is the sponsor of today's video, Superhuman. It's going to save you tons of time writing your cold emails. So I'm inside of my Superhuman account, which is sitting on top of my Gmail environment. It also integrates with Microsoft Outlook as well, so keep that in mind. A couple features that will help you guys out as you're sending your cold emails. If we hit C, compose, this will pop up, snippets. So snippets will save you a ton of time. You can come up with your cold email templates. As you can see here, the only thing I need to do is input my subject line and then input my personalization around the research I found on the company or the person that I'm reaching out to. All I have to do is enter that information, and I'm going to want to send this later because most of the folks that I'm reaching out to are on the West Coast Pacific Standard Time. I want this to be sent 8 a.m. Pacific tomorrow so I can schedule out my cold email sends, and then I also can be reminded, let's say in 4 days, I want to be reminded if this email has not been replied to. If it has not been replied to, I will be notified, and then I could send a second email in the cadence. Guys, check out Superhuman in the description of this video. It's relatively cheap. It's $30 per month, which is a very low investment compared to other tools out there like SalesLoft and Outreach, which costs hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month. So it's super cheap, and it's a great tool that's going to save you a ton of time. I've been using it the past couple weeks. Super easy to use and a huge time saver. Check them out. Your script and framework, it should be yours. It should be words and language that you use. It shouldn't be words and language that your sales manager uses, because that might be different than the words and language you use. It should be words that you use on a daily basis when you're speaking to your dad, your mom, or your best friend. The 3 aspects you need to include in your script and framework. 1, a permission-based opener. 2, a strong reason as to why you're making that call to that specific person. And number 3, close-ended questions. Here's an example of a live cold call demonstrating how to use all 3 of those aspects in your script and framework by my good friend and the best cold caller I know, Ronan Pesser.
Hello.
Hey, this is
Ask who's calling?
yeah, it's Ronan, and this is a cold call. Want to roll the dice?
Appreciate you letting me know. I'm actually on a conference call, but I really appreciate your transparency, so go ahead.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. Are you already using a ticketing tool like Zendesk or Salesforce today for support?
I am.
Do you have any way, and this isn't a gotcha, but do you have any way of knowing which customers left feeling the most frustrated out of all the interactions this week?
That's a good question. I think I do. Maybe not directly, but if I piece together some data from an AI tool I'm using, I might.
Oh, okay, cool. In short, what we're doing at Stylo, and the reason for my call was to see if you were curious to learn more about how we track sentiment in real time, things like frustration, urgency from any customer interaction. That way you can get a sense of where the fires might be burning before they actually get put on your desk.
And how is that measured?
Great question. In short, what we're doing is we're using natural language processing to first tag and categorize all of your interactions for you, so you don't have to have your agents do it or rely on the accuracy of that. And then second, we layer sentiment analysis on top of it based off of the model that we've built, which requires no training, works from day one.
So that's interesting. Is this similar to Gong, where Gong would be used more so on the sales side? Is it similar to that?
Kind of, yeah, but really focus on customer support. sort of a health score, but for support and for a very functional purpose to reduce costs of support and try to prevent support-related churn.
Okay. Well, you have my attention, and I really appreciate your transparency. So I'd love to learn more. Do you think I could get a demo?
You will also need a gatekeeper script. A lot of times when we're making cold calls, we're not going to have a direct dial, a mobile phone number for the folks, the prospects we're looking to connect with on our cold calls. We're going to call a general 1-800 number of a company, and we're going to speak with a gatekeeper. When that happens, use this script and framework to get past the gatekeeper to connect to the decision maker. Gatekeeper picks up the phone. Hello, this is XYZ Company. Hi, this is Matt McNamara. Can you patch me through to Chris Smith? Who are you with? And what is this regarding? Those are the two questions the gatekeeper is going to come back and ask. This is how you respond to those questions, and then we'll break it down so you can use this framework for yourself. I'm about to sound like every other pushy salesperson that calls your office and asks for something, but I'm with IBM, and I'm not even sure if Chris Smith is the right person to speak with regarding this. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Christine, it's great to meet you. But the reason for the call, Christine, is my company, we partner with companies like yours in the Silicon Valley area in helping the IT leaders within those companies reduce the time it takes to set up new devices for new employees. I notice you folks are growing like crazy, 52 new job openings on your website, and I thought we might be a fit to help you out at some point, potentially. Is Chris Smith, is he the right person to speak with regarding that? And if not, would you be opposed to pointing me in the right direction? Let's break this down so you could use this framework for yourself. I'm getting ready to sound like every self-centered, pushy salesperson that calls your office and wants something. This is a Chris Voss technique called an accusation audit. When you label negatives, it diffuses negatives. So me as the salesperson, I'm labeling what this gatekeeper is probably thinking. Oh my God, it's another salesperson cold calling the office trying to get through to Chris Smith to sell something he has no need for whatsoever. So by labeling myself as a pushy, self-centered salesperson, that's probably what they're thinking. It diffuses the negative on that cold call. Part 2 of the framework. You're now going to state the company you're with, that you're not 100% sure if the person you're trying to speak with is the correct person, indicating to the gatekeeper, hey, I'm a lost salesperson. I might need some help getting pointed in the right direction. And then you're going to use the golden statement that you need to incorporate on every cold call, whether you're speaking directly to a prospect or a gatekeeper. The reason for the call is everybody, especially on cold calls, everybody craves for the reason behind things, especially on cold calls. You need to have that statement in your gatekeeper cold call script. After that phrase, you're obviously going to state the reason for the call. If you have any good nuggets of information, research. For this example, I went on the website and I saw they were growing like crazy. Any sort of research behind the call will add credibility in helping you make an ally of that gatekeeper. And the final part of the framework is to include a no-oriented question. People feel safer saying no than yes, especially a gatekeeper who's speaking to a salesperson. If John Smith is not the correct person who would head this type of project up, Christine, would you be opposed to pointing me in the right direction? 9 out of 10 times, if you follow this framework with the correct tonality is the most important thing with any framework when you're making a cold call. Make sure it's casual, it's friendly. I'm not taking this cold call too seriously. If you have all that working for you, 9 out of 10 times, that gatekeeper is either going to verify that you're calling the right person or they're going to correct you. If they verify, yes, Matt, you know what? Chris Smith is the correct person you need to speak with. Your next question is, any chance you could patch me through to Chris Smith? Now, no gatekeeper is going to patch you through to Chris Smith. They're going to put you through to their voicemail. Here's how you handle that situation. Voicemail is okay, Christine. Quick question for you. I've been doing this a really, really long time. And typically when I get sent to a voicemail, I never get a call back. It's crickets. I'm starting to think that everybody just hates salespeople. I have a job to do, Christine. If you were me, what would you do to get in touch with Chris Smith? A lot of times, if you ask a question like that, the gatekeeper will come back and help you out. Hey, Matt, you know what? Chris Smith, he's never in the office. The best way to reach him is to send an email. Or you know what, Matt? I would call back around 8 a.m. on Friday. He's typically the only person in the office, and he's going to be answering the phone. Asking that question question. Everybody likes to help people out. So if you ask a question around, hey, listen, I have a job to do here. I have a job. I think we could potentially help you folks out. If you were me, what would you do? What would you do to get in contact with Chris to see if we might be a fit to help you folks out? Bring that gatekeeper in. Asking them for help will help make that gatekeeper your ally. Ideally, guys, the company that you are working for as an SDR will have some sort of data intelligence tool like a Zoom Info or an Uplead. You can check out Uplead in the description of this video that will provide the SDRs with direct lines, mobile phone numbers of their prospects. That way they don't have to speak with gatekeepers. Now, if you do have one of those data intelligence tools and you're calling a mobile phone number, 8 out of 10 times, you're going to go right to voicemail. When you do use this script, it's perfect to get responses back either via email or on the phone. Let's say, for example, I'm calling Francois. I get Francois's voicemail. Francois, no need to call me back. I'm about to send you an email with the subject line just left voicemail. When you get a minute, would appreciate if you could provide some thoughts and feedback to that email. If I don't hear back, I'll give you a call next Tuesday. It's Matt with ABC Company. So let's break that down. Francois, no need to call me back. Every other salesperson, when they're leaving voicemails, is asking for a call back. This is a pattern interrupt. I don't want you to call me back. I'm pointing the prospect to an email, and I'm tying my voicemail to that email with the subject line, just left the voicemail, and I'm simply asking for feedback and thoughts to that email. So I'm trying to get a response via email. I'm not trying to get a response and a call back over the phone because prospects don't want to call you back. They're going to be more receptive to email you back. Every salesperson starts a voicemail the same way. Francois, it's Matt with XYZ Company. They talk for a minute. They leave their phone number. Please call me back, 215-499-5124. You don't even have to leave your phone number. We're in 2022. If that prospect wants to call you back, all they got to do is check their caller ID, whether it's on their desk phone or their cell phone, and they can easily find your number. So stop leaving your number. Stop starting with your name and your company at the start of the call. Say your name and your company at the end of the call. That way, the prospect listens to the entire voicemail. This is going to help you get more responses via email. This is not going to help you get callbacks. I don't know the last time I got a callback off of voicemail. You're not going to get callbacks off voicemails, so stop trying to get callbacks off voicemails. Start trying to get better response rates on your emails. Again, Francois, no need to call me back. There's no need to call me back. I'm about to send you an email with the subject line XYZ. I'm pointing them to the email I'm about to send. When you get a minute, would appreciate if you could provide some thoughts and feedback. It's Matt with XYZ Company. And I might want to throw in there, if I don't hear back, I'll call you back next Wednesday. Just to add a little bit of urgency there. Start using this tip. Tie your voicemails to your emails, and you're going to get better response rates from your prospects. Cold calling is not fun, guys. And I don't want you to think that I think cold calling is fun because I post videos on YouTube about it. It's not fun at all. I hate cold calling. I think it absolutely sucks, but it's a necessary evil in today's world, and it might change down the road in order to be successful as a salesperson. The first 1,000 cold calls are going to be awful. You're going to be terrified. You're going to be scared. But if you get through the first 1,000, trust me, it gets easier. And when you have more success with it, you have fun, you're making money, all is good. Put in the work will take care of you. Don't ever forget that.